Hello and welcome back to Student of the Gun Radio. Thank you for being out there, and we are glad to be back behind the carbon steel microphones. That's right, the black carbon steel microphones, bringing you yet another thrill-packed edition of Student of the Gun Radio. Hey, Jared, are you over there?
I am over here, and I am doing well.
No, I was going to ask you how you're doing. I know how you're doing over there, but
I just wanted to tell you.
Okay, well, thanks for telling me that. No, what I wanted to ask you is I wanted to ask you a question. You just listened to my intro, didn't you? Did you hear the intro? Did it come across as condescending to you, or not?
No.
Or patronizing? Was it condescending or patronizing?
Was it condescendingly patronizing?
I don't know. But we're going to do our very, very best to make everyone happy this week.
We've got rainbows.
No, actually, I'm lying because I'm not here. In case you wondered, you're thinking, hey, I want to listen to a podcast. I want to listen to a radio show that is here to make me happy. And you know what? If you want to do that, listen to Delilah.
She does make people pretty happy.
Delilah. Love someone tonight. We're not here to spread peace, love, and joy. We're here to spread the truth. And if the truth hurts your feelings, that's a little bit of Tango Sierra for you right there. Now, we've got a ton of material, and we're going to jump right into it this week. Geez, Louise. Like I said, every week we sit down and we think, well, what are we going to do this week? Are we going to have enough material to fill the show notes?
I just stopped asking that question.
Yeah, we got plenty of material to fill the show notes. Now, this first topic we're going to dive into here, it's something that is pretty hot on the minds of just about every American, or at least every American patriot, or people that are paying attention to the news in the world. And that is concealed carry and home defense, and how do those mesh with each other. Now, Jared's going to go ahead and he's going to tell us who our XS Site's Good Guy of the Week is, and specifically, what is the good guy's question?
Our good guy this week is Jonathan, and he says, is it wrong to buy one handgun for home defense and a different handgun for outside the home defense?
Well, actually, that is it's a good question. A lot of people think, well, you know, I have a handgun. It's a relatively large one, and I shoot it well. I'm comfortable with it, but I don't feel comfortable concealing it because it's a little bit large.
Before we get into the meat of the answer here, Jonathan, you posted the question in the forum. I need you to email me. That's Jared, Jarrad, at studentofthegun.com. Email me your address, your phone number, your shirt size, and then that's it.
Okay, cool. So, Jonathan, I guess the most important thing for confident self-defense, whether it's in your home or outside of your home, is to have confidence in your skill and your ability and your gear. You need to have confidence in all of those things, knowing that not only do you have a good piece of equipment, but you have the ability to use that equipment in a high-stress situation of a life or death assault. Now, the good news is you are an American. I'm assuming Jonathan's an American, but even if you're not, the great thing about being an American is there are so many different firearms that you can buy, so many that are available to you, and so many that are very high quality. Now, when it comes to compatibility, what a lot of people will do is they'll purchase large versions, such as a Glock 17 for an at-home gun, and then they'll purchase a Glock 26, which is essentially the same gun, only a shorter slide, shorter barrel, and a shorter frame, grip frame, but they function the same. It's not so much the size, it's the controls. Does it have decocking levers? Does it have a slide-mounted safety? Does it have a frame-mounted safety? Does it have a safety at all? How does the trigger feel, and so forth? And when people get into trouble is when they start mix-matching all these different types of handguns together. It's like, well, my favorite at-home defense gun is a Colt 1911 single action with a manual safety. But I don't carry one of those with me because it's too big and heavy. So what I carry instead is a Walther with a slide-mounted safety on it. And they're like, well, you know, those things, those skill sets, unless you're intending to practice a whole lot, it's difficult to pass those skill sets over. Now, that's one of the reasons why we recommend, if you're going to have one single gun that's for you, that's for your wife, that's for home defense, that everybody in the house can use, that you go with something very simple and easy to operate, like a Glock 17, Smith & Wesson M&P 9, perhaps the XD or the Ruger SR9, because those are relatively simple guns to learn to operate and for everybody in the family to figure them out. Jared, you got something to contribute over there? You got that little twinkle in your eye. He's got that twinkle in his eye like he wants to say something. He was about to say something, and then I carried on with my sentence, and so he stopped.
Yeah, I was just reading. I was going through my Facebook wall here, and there's some pretty ignorant stories. But I don't really have anything to say on this. I haven't read it yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
But that was the twinkle in my eye, the ignorance.
Yeah, I saw that something was going on over there behind the eyeballs. The wheels were turning and smoke was coming out from underneath his headphones there. But yeah, Jonathan, we think number one, the best advice we would give you is if you're going to carry two different guns, one for home defense to keep by your bedside and one that's more compact and concealable, that they be very similar as far as the action is concerned, as far as the operation is concerned. I wouldn't say keep a Beretta 92 by the bedstand, by the nightstand, and carry a compact 1911 because they have very different controls and they feel different in your hand. So if you want to keep it simple, that's usually the best way to go. But, a lot of people do have that same situation. They're like, well, I really feel really comfortable with this gun, but I can't carry it because it's too big. Now, I will give you one last caveat, though. Quite often people will say, well, I can't carry this gun because it's too big. And some people will say too big is anything larger than a .380. Well, a lot of comfort in carrying is what you use to carry the gun. If you're just shoving guns in your pockets and your waistbands, you're screwing up. You shouldn't be doing it. Or let's say you go out and you bought the holster that was on sale, or the one-size-fits-all holster. Those are the worst possible things that you could do. First of all, one-size-fits-all holsters, those are just there to cover the gun and keep dust off of them, or maybe perhaps to take to the range so that you don't have to set your gun down on the table. It's a pocket to put the gun in. But if you're going to carry a gun every day for personal defense, you want to get a holster that was specifically designed and built for that gun that you're carrying, not every gun out there, because one size fits all really does not. So, and there's a big difference in comfort between a well-made holster and the cheapest one that was on the rack in your local gun store. So keep that in mind. Now, speaking of holsters and holster materials and so forth, we had the opportunity during the last week or so to work with some custom Kydex. I was introduced to this company just kind of actually by accident. A year or so ago, Jared and I were up training at Tactical Response, and Jay Gibson walked up to me and he said, "Hey, check this out, dude." And he handed me a cat tourniquet holder that was made out of Kydex. And it had one of those Blade Tech quick lock or tack lock locking mechanisms that you could mount it to a belt or so forth. And it was all black and it looked like something you would put on a police duty belt. And he said, yeah, one of the dudes coming, he took a class here and he wanted me to check this out. And he said, I figured you would, you'd appreciated that. So I contacted the deputy. It was a sheriff's deputy who had taken the class, and he said, no, I didn't design it, dude. I just use them. He goes, it's this company here that designs them, and it's a company called Wilder Tactical. And so I contacted Wilder Tactical, and I was like, hey, I got this cat tourniquet holder. It's pretty cool. I appreciate the idea and the concept behind it. And he's like, oh, that's great. Well, let me tell you what we're doing now. We're making some advances on it. We're upgrading it, and we do holsters and we do knife scabbards and we do all kinds of stuff. I'm like, well, that's really cool. Josh is the dude's name. And I said, well, let me know when you're ready to make some new stuff. And well, time goes by and Jared and I end up down in Kingsville, Texas at the Rifles Only training facility. We went down there, and you guys know, if you've been following the show, that we went to Rifles Only. We did some long range training and so forth. And well, we get back, and I get a phone call, and it's Josh, and he said, "Hey, I heard you were just down there at Rifles Only." We're like, yeah, we were. And he said, did you shoot that the 2x4 gun? And we said, yeah. He said, that's my gun. We're like, no kidding, small world.
Did he call it Illuminati or something like that?
Yeah, the Illuminati 2x4 gun. That's Josh Wild. That's Josh from Wilder Tactical. It's actually his 300 Win Mag Action is the one they duct taped to a board. And if you haven't checked that out yet, jump over onto YouTube and type in 2x4 rifle, or so, I guess that's what it is called, 2x4 rifle, right, Jared? But anyway, they wanted to set out or to prove that with this new Teledyne barrel that it didn't really matter what it was mounted in because anyway, you just check it out. So we got to talking more, and I said, you know what, Josh, you're the master of custom kydex, and I said, I've got a Gladius. I've got a Cold Steel Gladius machete, and you guys have probably heard us talking about them before. And if you haven't seen them, you need to do yourself a favor and check it out. It's really well, first of all, Cold Steel doesn't make anything that's not high quality. But these Cold Steel's machetes are actually made of carbon steel in South Africa, of all places. These machetes are not cheap, made in Taiwan pieces of junk. They're serious pieces of steel. And then you can pick them up for like less than $40. I think they're $39.95 or something like that, or $37.95 at Academy Outdoors, or you can order them online or what have you. So we picked them up. I've got one. Jared's got one. We've been really impressed with them. But the only thing that we weren't so much impressed with was the nylon sheath that comes with it. Now, I'm not knocking them. You know, when you're selling something for $37.95 or what have you, you can't put $20 or $30 into a sheath. Come on, it's just not practical. And I understand that. And like I said, it's kind of, the sheath is kind of like one of those one size fits all nylon holsters. It's there to keep dust off of it, but it's not really a practical item. And my thought was, hey, this Gladius would really be a practical tool if I could come up with a sheath or a scabbard of some type where I could attach it to the outside of a pack or molly strap it to something. And I was talking to Josh, and I said, this is my idea, dude. Can you do it? And he said, well, I think so. Yeah. He went over, Josh actually called me from an Academy Outdoors, and he said, all right, I'm in the Academy. He said, and they've got a Gladius from Cold Steel here. I said, yep, that is the one. So he picked one up, and he designed this Gladius scabbard. It's a custom kydex scabbard, and it's got, it has the special molly straps that you can attach it to anything, whether it's a pack or a vest or what have you. And we just got it this week, and we're pretty excited about it. If you're not following us on social media, shame on you, because if you are following us, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or what have you, you would see pictures of this thing. Now, Jared, obviously you can go to, I don't even think, it's so new. The one that I'm looking at right now here in the studio is the only one that exists. So they don't even have pictures of it up on the Wilder Tactical website yet. But I told Josh, I said, dude, we're going to be pimping this thing to our audience this week, so you better be ready to receive some phone calls and some emails. And he told me he would. He said he would ramp up. So check it out. It's some pretty cool custom kydex. If you guys have got if you've got your load-bearing vest and you're looking for a good way to secure a tourniquet, whether it's a cat tourniquet or one of the soft T tourniquets or what have you, you can put either one of them into the Wilder Tactical tourniquet holster. And they come with either the belt clips, so you can mount them on a regular belt, or they come with a molly attachment, so you can molly them to your vest. So check that stuff out. Take a moment and check out Wilder Tactical and some of their custom kydex products. All right, Jared, are we ready to get into the main body of this week's episode?
Yeah, let's get into the meat here. I'm sure everybody's expecting us to talk about this, so let's go ahead and get into it.
Yep. Well, this topic is guns, cattle, and patriots, and a lot of you folks out there and I have wondered why we didn't jump on it initially. And I took a little bit of time, and if you're following us, if you are a subscriber to the Student of the Gun newsletter, or if you follow our social media or what have you, if you've gone to Student of the Gun's website, you'll see that I did an article. It was basically 4 questions that you should be asking your reasonable friends about the Bundy Ranch situation. And we took some time to, I put my thoughts down on paper, as it were. And, I'm not going to jump into, or I'm at least going to attempt never to jump into a situation blind or react emotionally, because that's what the other side does. The other side just jumps in based on emotion. And they can get away with it because they can jump in based on emotion. They could be wrong, and nobody will ever call them on it. They could be 100% the other side of the aisle, the progressive side, the big government side, the liberal ninnies. They can go in front of a camera or a microphone and say all kinds of ridiculous things. And when it's, when they're proven to be wrong or undereducated, they're never called out on it. But our side of the aisle, if you're a conservative person, if you're a constitutionalist, if you believe in freedom and liberty,
if you're an ultra conservative,
quote, that's how Yahoo News. They're such vile garbage. Yahoo News. It's like, oh, Kim and Kanye's wedding. That's what Yahoo News is all about. But if you're on the pro Constitution, pro liberty side, and you make an error, they will hound you forever, basically. So we try not to jump into things emotionally. That's why it took a few days for us to get in. And quite frankly, I posted some links to the story, and I said, just consider this for yourselves. I'm not even going to make a judgment. I'm not going to say what I think about it. You just go ahead and take a look at it. And what we found was a little bit disheartening and disturbing. That I guess the whole Bundy situation, if you're not hip to it, it's a rancher outside of Bunkerville, Nevada, named Cliven Bundy, has been singled out, or apparently he's the last private rancher in Clark County, Nevada. What we've gotten from several stories is that there were many ranchers, but they've all been bought out over the years, and they've all gone away. And this guy's the last one. And so, 2 decades ago, the U.S. government stepped in and decided that they were going to protect the desert turtles or desert tortoise. And because they were going to protect the desert tortoise, that they needed to levy fines and fees against the ranchers in the area. And so because of these fines and fees, what we've been told is a lot of the previous ranchers just packed up shop and went somewhere else, or, they sold their land off or what have you, retired. So, well, what happened? Everything kind of came to a head. The Bureau of Land Management decided that they were going to swoop in, and that any cattle that were grazing on what they called government land were going to be taken. They're going to be rounded up and sold, and the money was going to be used to pay these grazing fees, because apparently they were very, very concerned with an American small business owner illegally grazing in Nevada in the desert. So we've got a lot of things to say about this. Number one, first and foremost, we've got a story here from the reviewjournal.com news, and it said that right now they have not tallied up the total yet, the total tax expenditure spent by the Bureau of Land Management. That'd be your money, not their money, because remember, the U.S. government, any government, they don't produce money. They just take money. Keep that in mind. Now, they print it. Sometimes they just print money out of nowhere, but they don't turn a profit.
There's a couple people that have been basically, I don't really know how to put it in a nice way. They're ignorantly talking about
displaying their ignorance.
Yeah, displaying their ignorance about how Bundy had been grazing his cattle on public land, and didn't all that cattle belong to the public, and all, if they were grazing on the land of the public, then the cattle belonged to us, the citizens, because the BLM took your money to do all of this, to round up this cattle, to set up their little cattle combine, to do all this stuff. So why aren't you mad about them taking your money when they are not reproducing anything back to you? The cattle would have been coming back to you as meat.
Yeah. So we got here You need to have, well, first of all, that's a reactionary emotional thing. And unfortunately, what we're dealing with in the United States of America, and this is always a case in human history, is a bit of, well, I'm sitting at my home in Indiana or in Iowa or wherever I'm sitting at home watching this story on the news, and I have a 9-to-5 job and I don't have a ranch. And so everyone assumes that if you have a ranch or a farm that you're somehow a billionaire and that you owe the people, and that it is somehow that it is the, what really disturbs me is that there are humans out there, there are American citizens that see their role or see the role of their fellow citizens, and they never look inward. They never look in the mirror and see it as their role. It's the role of their fellow citizens to be tax slaves to the government. It's your job and to produce tax money to fund the government, and that somehow your neighbor's money is de facto your money too because you call it tax money. Well, it comes from the individual citizen. It doesn't come from some big mysterious pile somewhere. And well, number one, let's talk about money. Let's talk about money. They said that the total bill isn't in yet. And if you know anything about federal government projects, they never come in below initial bid. I can't even. Someone write me a letter and tell me the last time a federal government project was put out and it came in below what they estimated they were going to spend on it. I want to know because it's an anomaly.
Well, if they did that, then they would have to ask for less money next time.
That's right. They'd have to ask for less money last time. So what we've got here is that initially that the Bureau of Land Management had put out a contract for a Utah cattle company to come into Nevada, and the contract to round up all these cows out in the desert, right? The original contract, just to hire this out-of-state livestock contractor was for $966,000. Not quite $1 million, but pretty close to $1 million.
According to this website, this story was actually posted on March 27th.
Yeah, this is the original. These are the original contracts to hire, because a lot of people have said, rightfully, is where did these people come from that are out there in the desert stealing Bundy's cattle? Where do they come from? Well, they're out-of-state people, because you're not going to get Bundy's neighbors. You're not going to get his neighbors and fellow citizens to go and take his cattle. You get people from outside of the area who don't have any want or desire to be a part of that particular community, so they don't care.
Do they not know that they're next?
Apparently they don't. They're just looking at dollar signs. And then it says, so that the $966,000, not quite $1 million, pretty close to $1 million, better than $750,000, $0.9 million. That's just the initial contract to bring in these out-of-state, what do they call them, livestock contractors. But then we have contracts for lighting and equipment and so forth. It says they authorized over $15,000 additional dollars just for light towers and auxiliary equipment to be used on their compound. Now, what they don't factor in is they don't factor in overtime and salaries and fuel and vehicles for the actual government Bureau of Land Management people and the canine handling fees and stuff out there. So I would say that it is very, very safe for us to tell you that it cost this whole operation that ended up being a failure and kind of egg on the government's face well in excess of $1 million of U.S. taxpayer money. Now you say, well, big deal. They waste $1 million every hour. Well, eventually we're going to have to stop doing that because our children's children are going to run out of money. So we've got $1 million price tag on it. Now, we've got a couple of story links, and we're going to put these in the show notes for you guys. We've got one from theblaze.com, and we've got another one from, and this is a reposted story, but it's Joe for America. And essentially, the they came out and they said they're doing this whole scheme to protect the desert tortoise. But then turns out that they do some environmental studies, or they go back and they find out that the Bureau of Land Management has discovered that the supposed endangered desert tortoise is so not endangered that they are actually eliminating some of these turtles, that they're not spending the money on them anymore because they're like, oh, guess what? The cattle actually have no impact on the turtles. What? And then they also discovered that if you really want to be a environmentalist wacko and worry about the livelihood of the turtles here, that the biggest danger to the turtles is not grazing cattle at all. The biggest danger to the turtles is development. And what are they trying to do outside? And Clark County is where Las Vegas is. It's a huge county in Nevada. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to put in solar panels. They're trying to put in development. They want to sell, the BLM wants to sell the mineral rights to various companies that are on the ranching lands right now. And in order, they can't sell the mineral rights, and they can't put in these, solar panel facilities and so forth if there are cattle out there. So they floated this trial balloon bullcrap that this whole entire $1 million operation with hundreds of man hours, if not thousands of man hours, is because they're trying to protect this poor desert tortoise from the evil cattle. Well, that's baloney. That's bullcrap. And that stinky sausage came out really quick. People realize it, and they're like, "Oh, well, we have to punish him because he didn't pay his taxes." Well, if you go in and you look a little bit deeper, you find out that some 20 plus years ago that Mr. Bundy was cooperating with the government, but then the government violated their side of the contract. And that after we set up this representative republic called the United States of America. And I know those of you who went to public school, you don't understand this, but it was all set up to work or operate under the, quote, consent of the government. And if you actually did study American history, you'll know that one of the main reasons, or the main arguments that they used when we separated from England and became independent was that the king and parliament had violated their contract with the people of the colonies and thereby voided their authority. Well, what we've got here is we had a contract or a compact between the government and the ranchers. And essentially, if you look into the story, if you read a little bit deeper than just, the first inch of the headlines, you'll see that the government did violate their end of the bargain. Now, you guys can research that all on your own. What I'll ask you this, though, is for all of you tax cheat people out there, for all of you who think that that Mr. Bundy is in the wrong and that they should take his property. Well, consider this. Our cattle property, yes. Do you know the Bill of Rights? What is the Fourth Amendment? The Fourth Amendment protects you against unreasonable search and seizures without warrants. Okay. What's the Fifth Amendment? The Fifth Amendment, in addition to several other things, guarantees you as the citizen that you cannot be deprived of your property by the government unless you have gone through due process of law. So let's say that the government is 100% in the right and that Mr. Bundy is 100% in the wrong. Okay. If you guys think that out there, ask yourself this. Has Bundy been charged? Has he been indicted? Did they take this case before a grand jury of 12 of their peers? That's because that's how the system is set up to work. Did they get an indictment against him? Did they file charges against him? Did they arrest him or issue him a warrant to appear in court? Is there a court date set? Did he go before a jury of his peers, and was he found guilty of violating the law? Because if that is the case, then a judge may issue a sentence which would include punitive actions. And again, for you who went to public school, punitive means to punish. And I'm sorry, was that condescending, Jared? Or was that patronizing? Okay.
No, I think that was you giving information.
Oh, okay. So if all of that transpired, if the government, got an indictment, filed charges, had a trial, if he was found guilty by a jury of his peers, then a judge would be within the Constitution, within the law, to issue an order to have his property lawfully taken from him. But under the founding of this nation, and I know a lot of you don't know it because we don't talk about it anymore, because we just talk about emotions and Dancing with the Stars and your March Madness brackets, and we have no understanding of the Constitution or the rule of law. If those things did not transpire, what you need to ask yourself is this: does a sitting judge or a federal bureaucracy have the authority to punish a citizen by taking their property without due process of law? And you might be saying, oh, it happens all the time. TSA takes people's property. They don't give it back to them. Yeah, because it happens all the time does not mean that it is lawful. It means you're allowing yourself to be abused. Well, no, that's not it. Well, actually, that is it. Read the daggum Constitution. Try for once to understand it. Under the rule of law, the government cannot deprive you of your property without due process of law. They can't just do it just because. Folks, when you allow yourself to go down that path, when you allow yourself to be put in a second-class citizen status, in a peasant status, well, the government took it because they're the government and they could do anything they want. No, that's not how it works here in the United States of America. They can't just walk in and take your property. It is not lawful. The only way they can do it is when you let them do it. When you sit on your couch in your chair, and you post stupid comments on Facebook and Twitter about, well, he should have paid his taxes and they wouldn't have taken his cows and blah, 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 blah. Folks, it's not about cows. It's about tyranny. It's about, do you have rights as a citizen, or are you a peasant and you're just hiding, hoping that nobody notices you? If that is your lot in life, if you're trying to get through life underneath the radar so that you don't get noticed by the government and they don't take your stuff or your money or what have you, I feel sorry for you. That's not how this nation was set up. Now, just because you feel that your current lot in life puts you into a peasant or a second-class citizenship or a status doesn't make it so. And it doesn't mean that your fellow citizens, that's the one thing that gets me, Jared, is that you've got people out there that they're so comfortable being tax slaves that they want everyone else to be comfortable tax slaves too. Well, I don't want other people making waves, and they shouldn't do anything. They should just shut up. Jared, who said the basically made the comment of, if you protest, you're going to die, or who was that guy?
I think it was a commissioner from Utah or something.
No, Clark County.
Was it? I don't know who it was. I'll look it up real quick for you and let you know the dude's name. Okay, yeah,
here's one for you. I'm just going to throw this out there because I'm in a mood. We had a Clark County commissioner when people started protesting, when supporters and neighbors and people from other states, when they descended on Nevada to protest, and they're calling them protesters. I got a question. Why don't we call them angry Americans? Why don't we call them American citizens that are fed up with being bullied by the federal government, that they're not going to take it anymore, that this long train of abuses, that they see it coming down the track. But this guy, and Jared's going to pull his name here real quick, but he gets in front of a microphone and he makes a statement that the protesters better have funeral plans. So let me get this straight, buddy.
His name's Tom Collins.
Tom Collins, like the drink?
Apparently.
Tom Collins, one of the Clark County commissioners, gets in front of a microphone and says that these people that are protesting out at the Bundy Ranch better have funeral plans. What does that mean, Mr. Collins? That if you dare to question your government, that they have the authority to kill you? Is that what it is? I mean, you tell me. You're out there. You're smart people. You're students of the gun. If I were to say to you, let's turn it around. Let's turn it around. Let's say that a private citizen, people that are actually supposed to be the boss here in this situation, said that they say, well, if the sheriff's deputies come to my house, they'd better have funeral plans. If a citizen said that, what do you suppose would happen to them? What do you suppose the reaction from the media would be? Oh, you're threatening them? You're threatening them with violence or death? But you have an elected commissioner, an elected representative of the people, that's what he's supposed to be, who goes in front of a microphone and says that if you're going to go out and protest against the government's action, that you'd better have funeral plans ready. What do you think, folks? Do you think that if you protest against government action, that is a green light for you to be killed? Therefore, you need funeral plans? I don't know. Answer that question for yourself. So there's a lot of material out there on this Bundy Ranch thing. What we saw, and the end game, or as we're recording this, what has happened is the Bureau of Land Management has removed themselves from the situation, that they backed off, that they released the cattle that they had rounded up, because they'd rounded up over 500 head of cattle in addition to the ones that actually died, because what we're getting now is that these cattle weren't used to being mass rounded up like this by force, I guess you can say, and this is calving season, and some of them died. But and who's going to pay Bundy back for the dead cattle? I don't know. We'll see. But that they have backed off because what happened? Well, we had thousands and thousands of angry American citizens who descended down there and said, no, we're not putting up with this garbage. You can't, this is government bullying. This is tyranny. You can't just do this. If someone is in the wrong and you feel that they're in the wrong, you get an indictment, file charges, take it to a court of law, let a jury decide, and then if the jury decides, then all right, then you punish them. Put them in jail, you fine them, you do whatever. But you don't just allow federal bureaucracies to decide what the peasants can and can't have. Where have we seen that before? Have you seen that anywhere before, where a federal bureaucracy just decided on their own that you, the peasant, weren't allowed to own a certain thing or possess a certain item, and it didn't go through the law and it wasn't voted on? They just decided. Is that the country that you want to hand off to your grandchildren? A country run by bureaucracies that treats you as the peasant. Now, I know this is hurting some of your feelings because you're actually going to have to think about it, but hey, I'm not here to massage your feelings. What are we going to talk about next, Jared?
Let's talk about a Go Team moment.
All right, we got a Go Team moment here, and this story comes to us again from theblaze.com. And the title of the story is Man Who Broke Into Florida Family's Home Had No Idea What Was Waiting for Him. And this came to us from, what was the city? I think it was Winter Park. Let me pull that up real quick. From
Winter Haven.
Winter Haven. Yeah, Winter Haven. And this wasn't late at night. This wasn't 2 a.m. This was early in the morning, wasn't it, Jared? It was 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
So we've got remember, we don't give bad people notoriety here. So we've got bad person, scumbag, intruder number one here, who breaks into a house, busts into there. I think it was a back porch, and there were three people at home, three adults, a mom, a dad, and I believe it was an adult son, or at least of age, and they all armed themselves, and they gave this guy the opportunity All three members of the Pena family were armed and ready to defend themselves and their home when he broke into the kitchen. So now the dad fired a warning shot, and the dude was not impressed, and he continued into the house, and they fired successive rounds, and now he is no longer with us. The scumbag in question is now worm food. And we wanted to give a go team moment with an asterisk. Apparently, the Pena family are not students of the gun, and apparently they have not been paying attention. But one of our students out there jumped on this when it was posted on Facebook, and they said, "No, stop firing warning shots, knuckleheads," and because you're going to get in trouble to do that. Well, and he's absolutely right. So I guess the asterisk that we're going to put on this go team moment is stop firing warning shots.
Well, in addition to going through the rigmarole, easy for me to say, of dealing with the after-action report and everything that they're going to have to deal with, now he also has to fix the bullet hole in his house.
Yeah, he's got a bullet hole in his ceiling or something. I think he fired it up into the ceiling area.
I don't know. I wasn't there, but now maybe when
I think it's in the story.
Oh, when he's getting that fixed, he'll probably second guess himself next time. Hopefully they never have to do that again. But yeah,
they tried to scare him away with a warning shot. Now this is, we talked about this before that. Yeah, he entered through a porch and then he broke into the kitchen. You know how Florida homes, a lot of times they have enclosed patios off the back of the house and so forth. What a warning shot does is it wastes ammunition. It puts a bullet somewhere that it shouldn't be, because let's face it, if you're in a justifiable self-defense situation, the only place that the bullets are actually supposed to go into is your threat, is whatever it is that's threatening you. They're not supposed to go other places. Now, I know sometimes you miss and so forth, and that's it. But let's not miss on purpose. Let's not deliberately miss. And it ended well here. The police investigated it, and they actually came out and they said, although that the investigation hasn't been completed, it appears that this was a 100% justifiable shooting, and it was lawful and so forth. And so, go team. And what's even an even cooler part of this go team moment is that these family members were all part of the team. They were all part of the defending the home team. And that's something that I think a lot of men, because men are men, and we can be knuckleheads. They have this whole, I'm the man and I'm the protector, and they don't even take the time to teach everyone else in their family how to use the guns, or where they are, or how to make them work and so forth. We had that situation. Remember we talked about the bear attack, Jared? Like several months ago, we had a guy is outside and he gets attacked by a bear, and his wife comes running out with a shotgun, but she doesn't know how to use it. She's like, I didn't even know how to use the gun.
It's kind of hard to instruct somebody how to use a gun while you're being attacked by a bear.
Yeah, when a bear is eating your face, it's kind of hard to teach your wife how to use the gun. But in that situation, it was up to the wife. So she ended up hitting the bear with a shotgun like it was a club, and they lived, but they got messed up pretty bad. The dude had ridiculous amount of stitches to put his skull back together. But my point is this: in this go team moment right here, we had not just the dad, not just the patriarch, but we had all the other responsible grown people in the house that knew where the firearms were and knew how to use them. So good job, go team. Stop shooting warning shots. Stop firing warning shots, for Pete's sake. It doesn't make you look good. I don't care what the knuckleheads in the media say. They're idiots. They don't know. The local news reporters, they fired a warning shot. Isn't that a wonderful thing? No, it's not.
They're going to bring some gunpowder chambers to them.
Yeah, they're going to talk to you about your gunpowder chamber.
All right, we've got another go team story here. Let's talk about.
Okay.
Obviously, this dude got thrown across the house by the bullet that struck him, right?
Well, you mean the one in Alabama?
Yeah.
No, but let's real quick. We've actually referenced a couple of Blaze stories here in this segment, and what I haven't mentioned yet, or we haven't talked about, is Student of the Gun's affiliation with the Blaze. Should we talk about that, Jared?
Yeah, well, since you already brought it up, might as well.
Well, we could undo it. We could. No, I'm assuming that a lot of the fans of Student of the Gun are also fans of the Blaze, of Glenn Beck's Blaze Network, and so forth. And what we didn't tell you guys, what I didn't let you guys know, is for the last month or two, I've actually been talking with the contributing editors, the contribution editors from the Blaze about submitting material from Paul Markel and Student of the Gun to the Blaze Network. And this last week, it was April 9th, was it, Jared? I think it was April 9th.
Yeah, I think so.
April 9th, the first article from your beloved host, Paul Markel, was published on theblaze.com. And we're looking forward to a very fruitful relationship between them and us. And we're very, very happy to be a part of it. So if you're not a fan of the Blaze, if you're not reading the Blaze news stories and you haven't subscribed yet, you might want to consider doing that. If you like what we give you, if you like the material that comes from Student of the Gun, you might want to check out the Blaze, or at least keep an eye out for some of my articles and our pieces that we're contributing to them now.
And what I've noticed from the Blaze is that they are very unbiased reporters. They're reporters. They're not emotionally driven. They find the facts before they actually publish them.
Well, and they are they're a very, very. I've been writing professionally for over 20 years now, and they're a very professional organization. They vet all of their contributors. They don't just let anybody write for them. They actually do a pretty good due diligence on you. So, and they do have, they have a set structure. And we've been, like I said, obviously I've been working with behind the scenes, talking with them for a while now. But check it out. Check out theblaze.com. And we did the first article, which some of you probably already caught, was called "Creating Gun Criminals Where There Were None," and about how how these numerous state and local laws that are being put on the books, how they're turning people who were not criminals into criminals almost overnight. And is this being done on purpose? Is it being done to create gun criminals where there were none? And where does that put you as the citizen? Does it put you on the defensive, where you're just living your life and now all of a sudden you have to worry about whether or not you're breaking a law that didn't even exist 2 weeks ago? So check that out. Now, this next one is called "Grandpa's Got a Gun. 83-year-old homeowner shoots intruder." And this comes to us from our friends at ammoland.com. And the dateline was Huntsville, Alabama. This happened in Huntsville, Alabama. And we had, as we're pulling up the link here, it said somewhere, every day, it says up to 2,100 people use a gun for self-defense. And we had a situation here where a homeowner, an 83-year-old man, was at home in Huntsville, Alabama, when there was a knock on his back door of a man claiming to need help. And this is a ruse that's almost as old as time itself. People, they come up and they beat on the door. First of all, they're pounding on the door to see if anybody answers it, because if nobody answers it, they're like, cool, nobody's home. I'm going to bust the window. I'm going to go in and I'm going to rob these people. And then if you do come to the door, they'll size you up real quick and they'll think, could I probably rob this guy? Well, what happened was the elderly homeowner did not immediately open the door, and the guy saw him and forced his way in, kicked the door open, but the homeowner was able to retrieve a handgun and he shot the home invader in the chest. And is the home invader now worm food, Jared?
No. That's my expression earlier. You know how in the movies when somebody gets shot in the chest, they fly across the room or go through a window. Obviously, that's what happened to this guy, right?
No, apparently not.
No, he what does it say? He fled the scene.
Oh, the guy, the victim, or the home invader got shot and fled the scene. Was
upon being struck,
later.
The criminal fled.
Okay, yeah, keep that in mind. Handguns are never going to be rifles. A handgun is carried because it's convenient, it's easy to carry, it's easy to use generally, but we don't carry handguns for power. They are not good power tools.
Who said it? A handgun's just a rifle waiting to grow up?
Bill, my friend Bill.
Bill.
From TAC Pro. Bill Davidson.
Oh, okay.
Bill Davidson from TAC Pro.
We know a lot of
Training-
Bills.
Yeah. Bill Davidson from TAC Pro Training Center in Texas. I was taking one of his classes, many years ago. And he was talking about handguns and why we carry handguns. And he said, when you see a handgun, what you should think is all a handgun is a rifle waiting to grow up. He said, if you got serious business to attend to, you use a rifle or a shotgun. We carry handguns because they're convenient, not because they're powerful. I don't care what you saw on the movies. It's not true. All right. Well, that should bring us right up to the end. And you know what we did, Jared? We skipped right over. We talked about our good friends at Access Sites and the Good Guy of the Week, but we didn't take a moment for some reason. I don't know where it is in the show notes. It must have got bumped when Jared was updating the show notes, and we'll go ahead and go with that.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Actually, it 100% is. But don't forget about our good friends at Keltec Weapons down there in Cocoa, Florida. You want to, and all of our friends, our friends at Keltec, at Crossbreed Holsters, our friends at Colt, makers of the LE 901 308 rifle. If you appreciate Student of the Gun, if you appreciate what we do for you guys, drop them a line, or if you make a purchase from them, let them know, hey, we bought this from you guys. Because now I know a lot of you don't buy stuff directly from manufacturers like Colt and Keltec, but still, you can go to their Facebook pages and like them or what have you. But we appreciate them because they provide us with the opportunity to sit down here behind the black carbon steel microphones and produce Student of the Gun radio just for you. That's right. Don't you feel special? You do feel special, don't you? Now, I want to remind you, you're a beginner once, but you should be a student for life.